prosciutto or jamón?
Oh, jamón, 100%. It just got a little more depth of flavor, a little more personality. Honestly, I would even pick country ham before prosciutto. Customs have taken it away from me because you're not supposed to like bring meats. I always try. Most of the times I get away with it. My name is Luis Herrera. I'm the executive chef and partner at Ensenada in Brooklyn, soon to be in Miami as well. And today we're cooking on the fly. Ooh, I hear a bottle. Is that a bottle? All right, so we got a one bite appetizer as a theme. So we got pumpkin bisque. Got the job done already, I don't need to do it. Figs, perfect, seasonal. Artichokes, we're gonna have to figure out what to do with them. Fish sauce, one of my favorite ingredients ever. We got puff pastry with nothing in it.
Puff pastries in the fridge.
Oh, and we got some jamón serrano. Oh, hell yeah, this is the good stuff. So one bite appetizer. First thing that comes to mind is doing like little like puff pastry canapes. I'm thinking maybe making like a quick jam with the figs, right? That could be the base for a puff pastry. This is like the curveball right here. I don't know, it's just like, I don't see it like working with these things. It's something that is already made. Because also this jamón is so good that like you don't really want to do much to it, you know what I mean? So, I mean, the artichokes are like kind of like throwing me off, I'm not gonna lie to you. And the puff pastry is just like a vessel for everything else, you know? I know it's not that fun, but you gave me some hard stuff to work with. We're gonna roll the puff pastry out, punch it into little circles, and hopefully try to like put some weight in the middle so we get the puff pastry to rise on the edges and make some kind of vessel. It's gonna be our first step. Second step, we're gonna do a fig and fish sauce jam. What we're gonna do with the artichokes is we're gonna turn them, because they're baby artichokes, the center is so tender, you don't need to like go all the way in and clean it. So we're gonna keep it whole. We're gonna wrap it up with the jamón, and then we're gonna deep fry that. As for the pumpkin bisque, I don't really want this to overpower everything else. It can be strong with the fall spices and all that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit to the egg wash for the puff pastry, and we're gonna like brush it with it. So first step, we're gonna start with the puff pastry. Classic puff pastry. Can you imagine if I had to do the puff pastry from scratch? That would be funny. Just roll it out. Important to always keep this cold when you're working with it. Whatever shape you're doing, if you're punching it, if you're rolling it, you should like put it again in the fridge before putting it in the oven. That's like the ideal scenario if you have the time, you know? Okay, so we're gonna punch it. Hopefully this will be like a bite-sized canape. You know, the idea is that for people to be able to grab it and just like take one bite. Okay, we have these 6. We're gonna transfer it to our sheet tray. So we're gonna punch some holes in the middle with the intent of hopefully stop the rising in the middle. I'm gonna try different options. I'm gonna put some weight in the middle, and then I'm gonna leave a couple like just like that. See how they cook, and then maybe just push the middle down. Okay, next step, we're gonna do the egg wash. Oh my God, it's so thick. Yeah, it tastes exactly how I thought it was gonna taste, which is, you know, sweet from the pumpkin, and then very like spiced. It's almost like one of those lattes from Starbucks. So we're just gonna use a little bit of our egg wash. Hopefully we get the flavor in there, in the crust. And then the good thing is because it's so thick, I don't think there's that much water, so I don't think it's gonna really like make our puff pastry soggy or anything. This is only an experiment, guys. And then what we're gonna do is we're improvising some weights. We're gonna try doing this. We're using like piping bag tips. Very improvised, but it's gonna be great. We're gonna try these too. We're gonna like score it a little bit. Hopefully what this does is like collapses the puff pastry in the middle, right? You want like the edges to rise and not the middle. This is gonna go into the oven, 375, 400 degrees. We're gonna give him 15 minutes, and then we're gonna check, you know, especially because it's gonna be a vessel and it's gonna be holding like liquids and like, you know, warm stuff. You want it to be like fully cooked and like crispy. Next step, we're gonna work on the fig jam. I love figs. These are pretty good, pretty sweet. For the jam, we're gonna peel them. I want the jam to be one textural, and the peel always brings like one more element of like crunchiness to it, you know? I want it to be like more even. So, you know, with this jam, I'm also thinking you could also like steer into like a more like a chutney-like thing. You like add some maybe shallots and garlic to it. Actually, should we add a little shallot and garlic? Do you have shallot and garlic? Let's do that. I pivoted again. Just make it more complicated for the sake of flavor. I'm from Venezuela. I, add it to our holidays. It's pretty neutral. Like I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving. I never have. I like this idea of like taking, like holiday flavors and make them into something like lighter and more approachable. Other than like, you go to your parents' house or your family's house and then you have like a crazy meal and then you like can't even like walk. Lighter approach to like celebration in those occasions, I would say. We're gonna start cooking our jam. So we're gonna melt some butter, shallots and garlic first. I don't really want them to get any color, so we're just gonna sweat them till they kind of like break down a little bit. And ultimately, once that breaks down a little more, I'm gonna add the fish sauce. I'm also gonna add like probably like the juice of half a lemon. Usually when you work with fruits and jams, adding a little bit of acid to it helps releasing the pectin. The secret ingredient, I'm gonna add 1 or 2 splashes. If you're using fish sauce, you should like cut back on salt. Like that's kind of like the rule of thumb. It's perfect, guys. Could use a little more fish sauce, to be honest. All right, so this is looking good. This is changing color. We're gonna let it simmer for a little longer and we can move on to the next task. All right, guys, this is our experiment. Like it puffed up, it's fine. So now we're just like making a hole in the middle to like be able to like hold our artichoke and our jam and all that. And it's gonna be great, I have no regrets. And now we're gonna do artichokes. So we're gonna turn them, we're gonna clean them, throw them immediately in some lemon water so they don't oxidize. You cut this bottom and then you kind of go like around it. I'm not an expert at this either. Turn a artichoke. That was the first one. Second one's gonna be better. Oh yeah, this is way better. Also, we gotta keep in mind that we're gonna wrap it with the jamón and then we're gonna try to fit it in there, right? Kind of like adjust the size into it. So this might need to be a little smaller. So we got our turned artichokes. All of these basically edible. So I'm gonna go ahead and portion the ham. Try to get strips so we can roll the artichokes. I grew up between Venezuela and Spain. Actually, my parents live in a town called Salamanca, very close to where they make probably the best jamón in the world. So, it's got a special place in my heart. I do love to eat it. I do think it's hard to find a good jamón here. Like every time I travel to Spain and when I come back, like that's one of the things that I bring jamón. Customs have taken it away from me because you're not supposed to like bring meats. But I always try. Most of the times I get away with it. So let's try a little bit of this one. This looks good. It's a little crumbly, but I think it will hold. And this is gonna be tricky. So I'll probably do that. And then we're gonna roll this in. It's breaking a little bit, it's okay. And then I think I'm gonna like use this so it holds. And then we're gonna fry with this and then take this out. So now we got our artichokes rolled up in the jamón. We're gonna slightly drench it in some rice flour and we're just gonna deep fry it. We're using canola oil to fry. We're gonna take it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We're gonna fry it quickly for 3-4 minutes max. I don't want the ham to burn, but I want the artichokes to fully cook. Okay. We're pivoting again. And we are coming up with a new idea. We're gonna have 2 things to try and just see what's best. So the first one is the first idea where we have our cups of puff pastry where we're gonna fill with fig jam, fried artichoke with the ham. And the second one, the puff pastry cook at the same time with the ham and the artichoke rolled in, which I think is gonna be cool because it's gonna actually create the way that we were looking for at the beginning. I poked some holes with a fork and now I think I'm gonna probably cut this in half to make it look nice. This is just like a matter of like seeing if the artichoke cooks fully in the oven with the time we're giving it. We're gonna do 375, same 14-15 minutes and see what happens. I love to experiment. Actually, we're gonna do 350, so the ham renders out a little slower. We have all the ingredients already cooked. Now it's time to put them all together. First thing, I wanna open one of these guys and see how it looks in the inside. Should be nice and crispy, and then nice and tender on the inside. Let's do this fairly pretty 4 ones. Following the plan, we're gonna do fig jam at the bottom. The good thing about these also, you can serve this room temp. You don't need to, it doesn't need to be hot. That's it. Doesn't look bad. And then we can garnish with a little bit of parsley. Just for the looks. Voila. There you have it, guys. One bite appetizer out of our surprise ingredient box. All right, so here we have option 2. Basically same concept, just a different method. In this case, we are putting it on top. Honestly, this fig jam came out very good. And then we're gonna throw a little parsley. Now we just decide which one is the winner. So we're gonna try. Definitely one bite. I think the only thing I would do differently, I would add a little bit more of jam, because the ham is pretty salty. Puff pastry is nice and airy. Very mildly, you feel like the fall spices with the pumpkin. Maybe you could have used a little bit more, but I don't mind that it's not like overpowering the rest of the dish. So we're gonna try this as well. I think I like this one better. I mean, it turned out pretty well. It's easier to make, faster to make. I think it looks a little prettier in the sense that everything is kind of like incorporated, because you're cooking the serrano ham with the puff pastry. When it renders the fat, it gets into the puff pastry. So you get a little bit more balance of like fat content instead of just the salty punch of the ham. It feels like a little more distributed throughout the bite. And then the artichoke, I feel it's a little more al dente than in the other bite. The artichoke there is very, very tender. And here you feel that bite, but it's not in a bad way. They're both pretty good, very similar. Overall, I think like the cooking method of this is so simple that it just wins. I mean, I would give me an A, maybe not an A plus. I went through a little bit of like nervous breakdown inside of me, you know, trying to figure out the idea, and we pivoted a lot of times throughout the challenge, but I think I did a pretty good job.